Philosophically, I don't want to spend too much time on this part, but philosophically, you're close, I would say, on a score of issues with Senator Clinton. How did you personally decide, Senator Obama would be the person I'd rather have represent the party?
It wasn't easy, Terry, because I went to college with President Clinton. He was 2 years behind me. And I wasn't a close friend of his, but I knew who he was. And we've sat down and talked about our college experiences, teachers that we had, and life experiences we had at Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And Hillary Clinton and I have been friends a long, long time, too. Served in the Senate for more than 6 years together. And I really do count her as a friend. And so that's the tough part of politics, is choosing between friends in this case. And I just thought at the end of the day that Barack Obama represented something new, a new generation of leadership. Not to take anything away from the Clinton family. I'd be happy to support Hillary Clinton if she's a nominee, or for my generation, about the same. But I think it's time to turn the page. I think it's time for us to give another generation a chance to lead, just like John Kennedy stepped in and really said, all right, I'm the firstborn in the 20th century to run for president, and I think I can make a change in America. So that element and the personal skills of Barack Obama are the reasons that I'm supporting.
With Senator Obama and all that he has naturally had in the press, people may be forgetting that you are up for re-election this year.
That's true.
Just opening line here on the generic question, why should Dick Durbin be given a third term?
Well, I hope the people of the state believe I've done a good job. I work hard at this because I love the state, and I'm in a position now in leadership to make a difference. The first Illinois senator to be in leadership in half a century. It's something that gives me a chance to be in on every important discussion about legislation. And if I'm in the discussion, Illinois is in the discussion. It means our state is not going to be overlooked. I come home every weekend. There aren't many senators who can say that. Some of them live in Washington. Loretta and I never chose to do that. Springfield's our home. We have a little condo up in Chicago that we stay at when we're there, but we're back in the state. I'm back in the state every weekend. I covered this state from top to bottom, worked with mayors and county officials of both political parties, and they can tell you, I could line up the Republican mayors and Republican county officials who tell you that it makes no difference when we go to Durbin's office. He's there to help us. And that's one of our basic principles in the way we serve. I enjoy the job, too. I hope it shows. I like getting up on Monday morning and going to work and looking forward to the week. I like the thrill of what happens in Washington, where we're close to big decisions that are made. And I think I've made a difference. I hope people think I've made a difference in this state, whether it's federal highway funds or making sure that we have our fair share of educational funds.
Let me give a little background before I ask the question. In the 2003 State of the Union address, President Clinton introduced the idea of having a technology developed for clean coal use. That started the FutureGen project, which the Illinois Channel has done a lot of various coverage on. It came down to a site selection of where we were going to locate this, whether in Texas or Illinois, and in December, Mattoon, Illinois was selected. With that for the background of the viewers, shortly after then Mattoon was awarded the site, the deal fell apart. The Energy Department apparently is reneging on that project. What can you tell us about that, and is there any future left in FutureGen?
Well, the only point I'll correct is it was announced by President Bush, and it was President Bush's...
I'm sorry, what did I say?
President Clinton.
Oh.
It was President Bush's centerpiece of his coal research technology, and I think a very wise investment, because the theory was we have so much coal in this country that we can't use because of environmental concerns. Illinois knows that story. The Clean Air Act really took its toll on jobs in our state and coal production. And so the president said, let us prove that we can use coal, generate electricity, and have no emissions, zero emissions. And what we'll do is we'll pipe back underground, sequester they call it. We'll pipe the CO2, carbon dioxide, underground so that it won't get in the atmosphere and cause problems. I thought it was a very forward-looking idea, and so did the people in our state. And so I really engaged a lot of people, Southern Illinois University, our congressional delegation, University of Illinois, the governor, and the others, and said, let's go after this. this is something that's tailor-made for Illinois. We started looking in southern Illinois and had to give up on it because the early surveys showed that there's earthquake activity. Not a long time, thank goodness, but that earthquake activity would argue against sequestration in some of those parts. So we moved further north, and Tuscola and Mattoon were the two towns we focused on. Right near those two towns, we thought we could prove these were the best places to go. Fierce national competition, millions of dollars spent by the state of Illinois, laws passed by the General Assembly. The governor put all of his state agencies, Jack Lavin was involved in it with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. They were all involved in it, and it was a massive full-court press, Democrats and Republicans on behalf of Illinois. We were competing with Texas, for goodness sakes. The decision's made in December, and lo and behold, they picked Mattoon, Illinois. We beat out the two Texas towns. 6 weeks later, the Secretary of Energy shows up in my office and says, we're pulling the plug on this project. And I thought to myself, why did you wait 5 years after we spent all this money and all this effort and picked an Illinois town to pull the plug? Oh, it costs too much money, he says. Well, how much money does it cost? Well, it may be $1.8 billion. So we take a look at it, the original estimate around $900 million to $1 billion. He's throwing in costs in there that aren't associated directly. Operating costs, that was never part of it. And each year, as I mentioned earlier, costs of projects go up. And instead of sitting down and negotiating with the private companies that are going to help pay for this and making sure the federal government had limited liability, he pulls a plug.
Well, I was going to say, there's an alliance of companies,
right.
so the
FutureGen.
cost overruns would not have been borne entirely by the federal government.
No, and these companies, the major coal companies in America want to prove out this technology.
We are the Saudi Arabia of coal.
As they say. And so they were prepared to deal with it. This man, Samuel Bodman, refused to do it. He said, I'm not going to negotiate with him. And so they pulled the plug. Now you ask the obvious question, what's next? Well, with this administration and this Secretary of Energy, nothing's going to happen with FutureGen. Congressman Tim Johnson, Republican, and Congressman LaHood called him on the phone and called the president and said, are you standing by this decision? He said, I stand by it. End of story. So nothing's going to happen on FutureGen in this next year before the president leaves office. But I want to hold open the possibility that the next president will reopen this and will reconsider it. We have put so much into this. Environmental impact statements, we've really worked it to a point where we're ready to start moving forward. And to abandon all that effort is a terrible waste of talent.
Well, and to put it in some context, we're talking about $900 million more than what it was initially. In terms of federal spending, that's nothing.
It's nothing.
We just passed $150 billion stimulus.
Exactly. Just to put that in context. If this proved out, and I hope it will, I believe these companies wouldn't invest in it if they didn't think it would. If this proves out, think of what this means to our nation. First, we will have an energy resource for the production of electricity that doesn't cause global warming or climate change. That is dramatic. It really is huge, and it is plentiful. The coal reserves in Illinois cover, I think, 90% of our underground area. And secondly, we're going to find ourselves in a position looking forward where we can start looking for more homegrown solutions to our energy challenges.